West Virginia shocks the country as they get one of Pennsylvania's best players and steal him away from the Pitt Panthers. You literally can't write it. Pitt was parked outside waiting for him to commit to them. Totally embarrasses them.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host. Welcome back into Locked On West Virginia, where we're talking Mountaineer recruiting again, and what an episode we have for you today, as West Virginia has made an enormous push. I don't think a lot of us realized just how big of a push West Virginia was going to make. They are now up into the top 25 and second-ranked class in the Big 12. No, this is not a drill. West Virginia is absolutely crushing it right now. Really, not kidding, not over-embellishing. This is big-time stuff they're pulling off. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your team and the Mountaineers every single day. Got to be honest, guys, this is a big one. Like, we weren't expecting this one to happen. I don't think a lot of people were, and here it is. West Virginia gets a huge commitment from Matt Sieg, who is just a monster pickup for West Virginia. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen. Like I said, guys, this one's going to be brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, FanDuel is, if you want to be in the middle of the action each season, you can visit FanDuel.com and place your live bets all season long. All right. You guys hear it, don't you? That's insane to me. I can't believe that it hasn't gone off in months, literally months. And all of a sudden it goes off while we're live. I'm going to have to go unplug the stove live. We'll be right back. Wow. That was crazy. I wasn't expecting to have to do that, but here we are. That was frustrating for me, but thank you guys so much for being patient while we get kind of reacclimated here. So West Virginia picks up Matt Sieg. He basically flipped live on national television. Let's get a sense of who this player is. Got a clip for you guys I want you to see really quick, because let me just tell you, this kid is a missile. Really triggers well. Boom, knocking the guy right off of his feet. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. If you want to play him on offense, you can do that, right? He can do anything. Look at this jump ball situation. Great vertical leap. Here he is coming around on a sweep action, getting the ball. And as you can see, great job there too. And just such an incredible run after the catch type guy. Great vision. And like he said himself today, we'll play a few more of those here in a second. Like he said himself today, he's going to play both ways for West Virginia. This is a big deal, because I think a lot of us were curious if, that was going to be the case, if Rich Rod and company were going to allow that. It sounds like this was a big part of his recruitment. So this is trying to think of the guy that we played against Utah earlier this year, Jackson Benny. That's kind of who he reminds me of, a safety, long, lanky safety. Although this, Sieg is a more along the lines of 6 feet. But Jackson Benny is a kid that they used on similar top plays like that, where you see him come around on a sweep. You see him, he's in the offense making catches, but they really need him at safety because he's one of their best players. That's how he projects at West Virginia at split safety. And this is it's a 4-star player, obviously, if I didn't tell you that. So here's where it gets hilarious, because I think Pitt thought they were going to get him. And I think a lot of people thought Pitt was going to get him, or Virginia Tech. Pitt was so confident they were going to get him. And if you're listening, I'll explain this. This is from at WPIAL Insider. WPIAL Insider breaking: a Pitt equipment semi-truck has just parked outside of Beaver High School. Fort Cherry plays Neshannock there tonight. Pitt is making a major push for Fort Cherry star Matt Sieg. So Pitt literally parked outside of a game that they were playing. I misread that at first. I thought that was today at the announcement ceremony. Apparently that was at a game earlier this year. So my apologies there. But either way, Pitt making a huge push for him. They thought they were going to get him. There was a ton of cope online going on from their fan base when he didn't come to West Virginia. So now they're counting star ratings. They're saying, well, we have 4 4-stars and you only have 2 4-stars. The days are not over yet. West Virginia is in the running for multiple others. At least one other 4-star, no, 2 other 4-stars that I know about. So, you know, at the end of the day, this is a big one, right? So let's break down what it is he is and what it is he does. He's a heavily versatile player, right? 2-way athlete from Fort Cherry High School in McDonald, Pennsylvania, who was committed to West Virginia for the 2026 class. Now at 6 feet, some say 5'11 and a half, weighing 190. He is going to be a safety, obviously. And like he said in the video, once he masters that, he has the athleticism and skill to continue on to the offensive side of the ball, special teams, multiple other positions as a multi-sport star. I mean, he was football, track, basketball, baseball. He's rewritten the book in Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania. He actually beat Boyd's record, a lot of Boyd's records from Pitt, the Pitt player. So, you know, he broke his records for like yards, touchdowns. As we said, over 12,000 yards in high school is insane. It's insane. It's almost unheard of, right? But especially on offense, where he's been a quarterback for years. So he flips from Penn State to West Virginia on National Signing Day, and here we are. So West Virginia gaining from Penn State, a big deal, right? The massive coup. It is. It's probably it's as big as Kevin Brown, a lot of people would say. It's definitely in the conversation because the early enrollment, you know, is going to give this kid a chance to make an early impact on both sides of the ball for Rich Rodriguez. It just is. So, you know, his early enrollment potential is probably, in my opinion, one of the 2 or 3 biggest things about this signing, because he's just that good. He's going to make an impact, y'all. He just is, right? So, like we said, split safety who can cover the ground, and, you know, he can fill alleys and run support. Obviously, we saw on tape there, he is a big hitter. He plays with his hair on fire. He's really good at playing in the slot against receivers or tight ends too. He's got a great vertical leap, and he can high point the ball, whether on offense or defense. And his offensive background is really what makes him interesting, because you could play this kid in the Wildcat. I mean, you really could. If like this kid would have been perfect for like Army or somewhere to run their offense. You know what I mean? Like, he's that good of a runner with the ball in his hands. So if you're thinking like a quarterback, slot receiver, or even a running back, like he can be all 3 of these if you really needed him to be. So, and analysts do highlight his potential on special teams as well as a return guy. Although at that point, you're probably doing too much. If you're going to play him both ways, just stick to that and don't worry about all the extras, in my opinion, or you're going to wear him down. Because Travis Hunter is just a freak. He's an alien. You know, he never got tired. I don't know that you can say that for everybody. But at West Virginia, he could challenge for early playing time on defense, while maybe being in gadget plays, or on offense as a Swiss Army knife type player who maximizes the roster flexibility, which is a good thing because you need that. He true multi-sport standout, guys. He excels in both track and field, basketball. He had actually back-to-back WPIL titles in the 4x100 relay. His top hurdle, or his top marks include 11 second 100-yard dash. He had a 6'1" high jump, which is crazy. He has explosive speed and vertical ability. The high jump, if you go watch that, shows it. He really gets off the ground well. So, his 40-yard dash isn't on record that I could find, but I would imagine it's in that 4.4 to probably 4.4 range, based on what he looks like on the field. But he's got burst, and I would imagine, he's in the 99th percentile of all prospects, right? I mean, that's kind of what I see him as. He's also known as a win at all costs type of player. Really hard-nosed competitor. I think that's why he, maybe West Virginia kind of got ahead with him due to that hard edge kind of culture. And he's been playing football for 4 years as a starter at Fort Cherry, who have been to deep playoff runs after deep playoff runs. So, he's got the leadership at quarterback. He's got the leadership in the back end. He's just everything you could possibly want in a commit. And if you could clone him 20 times, you'd have the number one recruiting class in the country. So whether it's instincts and football IQ, athleticism and quickness, physicality and tackling, he's got it all. He's versatile across all positions as well. He's durable. I mean, he hasn't been injured that I know of. At least I wasn't able to find any major injuries for him during his career, which in this day and age, you just never know about. He's got the ball skills and playmaking. He's a leader. He's competitive. Like, there's literally everything you could ever ask for in this kid. So his high school stats are legendary, right? 9,000 yards. It's 5,000 rushing, 3,000 passing, another 2 or 3 odd thousand in other ways, whether that's returns and all that. 137 touchdowns total. Not a great passer as far as completion percentage. He's like 184 of 321, but he had 3,100 yards, 39 touchdowns, and only 9 interceptions. So, he did have a great quarterback rating for what that's worth. He also caught the ball, all-purpose yards, over 6,000 yards all-purpose, just incredible. He's truly just the best player in Western Pennsylvania on offense, a lot of people felt like, and one of the best on defense. So he is a kid that's going to come in and make West Virginia better from day one, and he'll probably play from day one or have a chance to. It'll be interesting. This is going to be a huge departure from last year where we had a lot of age. This year we're going to have a lot of youth. It's going to be something, because I just don't know. This West Virginia class obviously is big. 42 players. You just have to know. You just have to know, man. Like, this is a kid that's going to come in and compete early, like a lot of them are. But I don't know how many are going to play right away, right? So that's the part that you have to ask yourself about. Yeah, you have to. So I would imagine at the end of the day, we're going to be a lot younger, but we're going to be more athletic. And that's really what matters to me anyways. I would rather be athletic over old and slow. So that's my big deal on it. So let's jump into a break here. We're about 13 minutes in. And we'll break down the rest of the class so far as it continues to grow today. We'll be right back. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia going to be brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now with FanDuel, the NFL Sundays do move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting pretty much one of the best things around with FanDuel. It makes it so exciting. So you're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place live bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, the defense tightens up, and the momentum tips and flips after a turnover, and FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust those instantly, please. And then, if you want player props, they can update as guys heat up along the game. And you can bet the next touchdown drives. You can bet the next touchdown score. You can get the next drive result, total. You want more? It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, so can you. All right, we back. Let's get out of this right here. It's segment 2. We will crack a do and jump straight into this class. It's been so fun to keep track of so far. Somebody get Lake Young out of there. You're spamming the chat, brother. I don't care. You know what I mean? I don't care. So I'll get thank you. Appreciate it. He's in timeout. All right. Jumping into this class. It's a big, like we said earlier, big class for sure. And I just wonder how many of these guys West Virginia is going to be able to hold on to. It's done. This is as of probably 30 minutes ago. So like this definitely could change. And I don't want to, it's just such a fluid situation, right? So I don't know. Let's start with we'll start with the quarterback room. Obviously, Wyatt Brown, who Notre Dame, Sherman Oaks School, high school, Santa Monica kid, has been very underrated, right? 6'3", 197. I think at the end of the day, man, he's probably one of the most underrated players in this class, really, offered by Cal, UCF, UCLA, and others. John Hughley as well, another big one. Obviously, Cardinal Newman, they mentioned him on the Matt Sieg deal earlier. Lawrence Autry, Martavius Boswell, Sir Paul Cheeks, and Christopher Talley are the running backs that I have so far. Landon Drum, Charlie Hannafin, Keon Hutchins, Kedrick Triplett, Malachi Thompson, Greg Wilford, and Robert Stith are all the wide receivers. These are all a mixture of 3-star players. I don't think we have any 4-star players. Well, Kedrick Triplett is the number 2 or 3 ranked JUCO wide receiver. Keon Hutchins is the number 1 rated JUCO receiver. I remember now. He flipped back after decommitting, so West Virginia got him back in tow. So we ended up with the 2 of the top JUCO receivers in the country there. Tight end's interesting. You get 3 guys in 3 stars, all 3-star players as well. Spring Mills, Martinsburg, Xavier Anderson, who was a kid we thought he'd been at Cincinnati. He flipped. Cade Bush, 3-star kid out of Chanhassen High School, 6'4", 220 pounds. Sam Hamilton, another 3-star of Archbishop Moeller. So that's another one at 6'2", 235. Probably a blocking tight end. I haven't really decided on if he's going to be a great receiving tight end or not. So I'm excited, right? Like these are a lot of guys, man. Kevin Brown, obviously 4-star player, one of the 2 only ones that I know of as of right now. LaMarcus Dillard, Camden Goforth, who probably should be a 4-star player. Rhett Morris is another one that plays at an elite place in Don Brosco Prep, as just a leader on his team. I love Rhett Morris too. I probably haven't talked about him enough, but he had Boston College, Pitt, Temple, Virginia Tech. He had a lot of people after him. Rhett Morris, Cam Goforth, Kevin Brown, LaMarcus Dillard out of St. Francis, Jonas Muya, who we just got yesterday, the 6'8", 6'7". That was all, we had a lot of tie-in with Cincinnati and other teams here today. Deshaun Woods and Aiden Woods. So 2 Woods, not related, I don't think. One is a JUCO, one is from Abington High School. So these are the offensive line classmen so far. Defensive line, you've got Camden Gillespie, a 3-star out of Mooresville High School, Carter Kessler, a 3-star out of Shelby High School, Cam Mallory, a 3-star out of Moody High School, and Noah Tischendorf, a 3-star out of Lake Ridge High School. 6 feet 254 on him. Cam Mallory is 6 feet 315 out of big defensive lineman. Carter Kessler, 6'2", 250, and Camden Gillespie, 6'2", 242. Obviously, Cam Mallory is just I mentioned him yesterday, right? I said he's probably one of my favorite players in the class. Who do they mention along with Matt Sieg as one of their favorite players in this class on the 247 Sports? Basically they were wide open talking about it. All of West Virginia's class. They mentioned Cam Mallory, right? He said I've seen him in person. I love that guy, so I'm glad I had at least some sense on him. Jeremiah Johnson, 3-star out of Spanish Springs High School, is committed. Then you've got a couple that I really love here. So obviously you get down to Antoine Sharp Jr., a 3-star out of Palm Beach Central High School, 6 feet, 212 pounds. Cam Dwyer, who is another one of my top 5 as of right now. I mean, we keep getting the kind of players we're getting. I don't know. 6'1", 195, just a speedy, fast. He's bigger than 6'1". I messed that up somehow. Miles Cotchery, the 3-star out of Montgomery, Alabama, is a heat-seeking missile. Love that kid. So glad that he ended up picking West Virginia and stuck around with us. Defensive back room, you've got Makai Boone, Samaj Hill, and Emery Snyder, right? All 3-star players. These are all playmaking type defensive backs with some size, right? 6 feet, 6 feet, and 6'3". So West Virginia has decided we're not taking anybody below 6 feet tall at the corner spot. Love, some of the players we had last year, right? Whether that's Jordy or whether that's, Michael Coates Jr. A lot of these guys, man, were just too small, which is we were exposed against Texas Tech whenever we just couldn't. I mean, they were just using their size to beat us. So hopefully we can, in the future be a little bit bigger. That's what we're hoping, right? So we're hoping anyways. Corner, Damon Allen and Rayshawn Reynolds, the teammates at Hutchinson Community College. That's a big deal. We really needed them both. Those 6'3". One listing has one of them at 6'2". So it could be, 6'2", but either way, you're going to take that every day of the week, especially at corner. And then you get to the athletes. Obviously, John Johnson III. This is a new one today. Flipping from Washington State, guys, from Edna Carr High School, New Orleans. His tape is absolutely phenomenal. If there's only a couple guys that I would implore you to go watch, this is one of them. Go watch this kid's tape. I wish I'd have had time to put it up for you guys, but John Johnson III, an athlete. He played quarterback in high school. He had over 10,000 yards in high school. Flipped him from Washington State, and we're very lucky we did. I believe this is one of those underrated types. Now, as a passer, I don't know. But, I mean, if they think he can play quarterback, then I'm really excited because of his running ability. If not, I'm still excited by his ability as a receiver and an athlete. What I love about Rich Rod is he just says, give me the fastest guys. That's what I want. I want the fastest guys, and then we'll figure out how to turn them into receivers or wherever. I like that strategy. It worked for us before, so hopefully it can work for us again. Would love that. So, obviously Matt Sieg, out of Fort Cherry, who's just had everybody wanted him. Alabama, Penn State, Indiana, Iowa, Maryland, Michigan State, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, Notre Dame, Pitt, Stanford, Syracuse, USC, Virginia Tech. Like, his list is the best of the best. And then there's a punter on the list, right? And Chase Ridley, 6'3", 233, international kid. So hopefully we can get anything close to what we had in Ollie. Man, Ollie was so awesome. So I'm hoping that he can, at least in my opinion anyways, be what Ollie was. Yeah, you never know, man. You just never know. Ollie was such a good punter for us for a few years. And the Neil Brown guy, which is, by the way, we want to talk about that after the break. Final thoughts on Neil Brown going to North Texas. So I seen a headline. Somebody said that the money is not going to be knocked off. I don't know. I haven't read anything or researched it, so I'm not going to just putting that out there. And then what are there some players in this roster that could follow Neil to North Texas? Talk about that too. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia going to be brought to you by our friends at Nobody. I forgot, no ad read here. Oh, gosh. All right. So, Neil Brown, I'm pulling up our roster really quick. Because it's an interesting thought, right? I've got some guys on here that you absolutely want to be worried about. So, just name guys that could follow Neil. Obviously, if he was at a Power 4 school, it would be much worse. But the fact that he's at North Texas, you've got to get these borderline guys like number one, Nico Marchiol, right? He's obviously not coming back to West Virginia anyway, but I think he's somebody you bring up right off the bat as somebody that like, okay, that makes sense. That would probably work and it would probably be good. Then you get into some interesting ones like, what about Jaheim White? Would he follow Neil? We know he loved him so much there. Obviously he's got a great opportunity here, but West Virginia's recruiting a lot of running backs. Jaheim White would have suitors from all over the country. But, man, these guys loved Neil. A lot of these guys loved Neil. So I would say just, put a pin in it. You never know, right? Gerald Williams would be one I would really look at. I mean, he's been here for years, never played. He would probably play at North Texas. I mean, I think he's probably good enough to play Group of 5. Maybe Scott Keene is a name. But from what I understand, North Texas has a quarterback that a lot of people are really high on that they wanted to keep, but I'm not well versed enough to really speak on it 100%. Khalil Wilkins would be another big one you might want to keep an eye on. Obviously, I just saying, he's a Neil Brown recruit. So Ben Cutter is another one. Obviously, Ben Cutter played well for us, and I think we want to keep him, but just be careful there, Zay Jennings would be another one I would keep an eye on, big time keep an eye on. Dior Hubbard is another one that I would keep an eye on, although I think he should be back with us. Maybe he won't be. Rodney Gallagher is another one, right? What if we bring a bunch of great receivers in and is he worth it, to pay a bunch of money in some kind of battle with anybody for Rodney Gallagher? That's a question I don't know the answer to, but I do wonder about, he didn't have the greatest year. Obviously, he started out hot with Nico, and then things faded away because things were bad for us. They weren't great. So I would love to see Rodney Gallagher in a situation in a healthy environment, because we just haven't given this kid a chance to be successful. I was his biggest critic coming into last year. I said, I don't think he can learn the route running part of this as much as I thought at one point in time he could. I was wrong, and he proved me wrong, right? He proved me wrong with Nico the first couple games, and then everything went to hell. And, of course, he suffered because him and Nico were really close, and they worked hard together. So, and you bring in all these different quarterbacks every week. It was like 5 or 6 weeks of different quarterbacks. We couldn't even get 2 seconds to throw it. Like, I do not blame. That's why I don't blame Cam Vaughn for a lot. But, I'm not saying these people are leaving. These are people that you need to watch if West Virginia gets better players, because this could happen still. Just letting you know, West Virginia could get players that just go above some of these guys, and they may transfer because who wants to not play, right? It's West Virginia's obviously proven they've got more money than we thought in the recruiting portal, right? Or in the recruiting pitches. What's the portal going to look like? Are we going to bring in a couple receivers? Are we going to I know we're going to bring in some linebackers. Anyway, I'm just pointing out people that have connections to Neil Brown. I'm not saying they're going to leave at all. Not at all. I'm just pointing out people that if it doesn't work out with West Virginia, you would say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. That's all this is. Clay Ash would be one. If I'm Neil Brown, I'd go get him. I think he'd be good down there. P. Fox is done, obviously. Who else would be really good for him? Trying to think here. I think that's about it. There might be a couple other guys that I'm not thinking of. Xavier Bosley. Yeah, if I'm Xavier Bosley, I'm on the next flight to North Texas. Xavier Bosley got screwed over this year. I had somebody text me, during the year and tell me Big Nell just won't give him a chance. They just won't. He was injured, obviously, to start the year. I'm pretty sure we found out. But you're telling me you brought in a freshman All-American who, I'm just going to put it out there, you paid over $100,000 for this player to come in. You beat out Kentucky to get him. This is the Neil Brown era. I don't know what they paid to keep him after that, but I know that when he came to West Virginia for Neil Brown and company, he took a $40,000. I know because I broke the news. I was involved with that. I even have this. I still have the screenshots. Obviously, I mean, it's my first probably recruiting news break. But Xavier was like, dude, I want you to report it and all that. It was so nice of him. But at the time, he got paid pretty well, and I just thought, he's going to be good for us someday. He's been a freshman All-American before, and then Rich Rod comes in, the very coach he was a freshman All-American for. And then he just never sees the field this year. It was shocking to me. So if I'm him, and I don't know what's going to happen if Big Nell, maybe he stays, and if he does, we'll just have to support it. But if he doesn't, he doesn't. But I had somebody reach out to me, and for what it's worth, it was a parent. So, take that with a grain of salt because you never know. But they said if he stays, that a lot of people will transfer on the O-line. I don't know. I have no clue, but it's a wild scenario there for sure. So Xavier Bosley, right? I mean, is he a guy that you look at and say, well, I don't know. Would he want to go and take a step down, but he would play? Maybe. I would like to see. Then there's the obvious guys that are already on the O-line, like Nick Cray and stuff, but there's no way that we lose those guys. Corey McIntyre is another guy that Neil Brown loved, but I think he really made a lot of hay last year to possibly get himself in a position to be a rotational guy on defense next year. Anybody else I'm thinking of or missing out on? Looking at, a lot of these guys are Rich Rod guys. Some of these guys are Rich Rod guys or Neil Brown guys that you brought in as recruits, but didn't necessarily play for Neil. So it's like, which does that matter if they didn't actually play for him? I don't know. But there are some names that if you're North Texas and Neil, you have to be looking at, wondering if, they're going to hit the portal. And here's the other part to this. More than likely, who's going to be Neil Brown's first hire? Chad Scott, right? I mean, it's just the facts. There's a lot of relationships here that cross over when you get into that mess. So luckily, it's not a P4 situation, but it's definitely a situation. So we'll see what happens. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for being in here. We're going to go ahead and bounce out at that, and we're going to check out and see what happens the rest of the day. There's a lot of movement potentially still ready to happen. Hopefully it does, but if it doesn't, we'll still report the rest of the recruiting class. Obviously, there'll be more guys, but there's definitely some things going on behind the scenes. So we're excited. Hopefully, West Virginia pulls it out on a couple more of these big fish. If they do, we'll be here to cover it on Locked On West Virginia. Thanks for making us your first listen. Check out Locked On Big 12. He's covering the Big 12 as good as anybody that's out there. One of the most exciting conferences in America. Drake Toll covers it well from the bowl games, the championship game, everything between. Drake Toll is your guy, Locked On Big 12. And we'll see you guys on the next one here. Thanks for making us your first listen, like we said. And don't forget to cue those country roads. See you next time.